Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting firm Riderflex. If you enjoyed today's guest interview, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe to the Riderflex podcast. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Ben Lund on the Riderflex podcast. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Heyo, doing well. Glad to be here.
You in Mass? Huh? You're somewhere in Mass. Yep.
I'm in, just south of Boston in a town called Dedham. We're right in downtown Dedham, which is a great spot near a bunch of restaurants, coffee shops, pubs. Downfall is sometimes you'll see emergency crew go through. So if a siren goes on, I'll just mute myself. But it's a great spot, centrally located.
Did you grow up in Massachusetts?
Grew up in Wisconsin.
That's okay. So you have this blended, I can almost see that, right? The Wisconsin accent. Now you live in Mass, and it's kind of like you put it in like a bowl and stirred it up. And yeah, is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and we're just in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago for our family reunion, way up north, just shy of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So, but yeah, no, born and raised, moved out of Wisconsin when I was 17, but had definitely enjoyed my time there.
Tell me about your family, mom, dad, siblings.
Yep. So 2 parents, born and raised Wisconsin, 2 older brothers. And it's actually interesting because on your base is very much entrepreneurship. We're all entrepreneurs. We didn't plan it that way, but it just so happened to be my oldest brother, entrepreneur ever since pretty much he started his professional career in his young 20s.
Okay.
Brother Jamie came on board, middle brother, and then I hopped on board about 4 years ago. So yeah, I don't know. We didn't really plan it that way. It's just kind of like a fun fact. You're like, how about that? We're all just kind of doing our own thing.
What did mom and dad do?
Yeah, so my dad, different is, our parents' age, it was a different professional life where you work for one company, and he worked for a company called Amity Leather, based in West Bend, Wisconsin. That's where we grew up. Okay. And they made leather goods like wallets, purses, handbags, and he was just followed that career, successful. And then we moved to Massachusetts because he moved for a new company working for Buxton Leather out in was it Springfield or Chicopee, Western Mass. So picked up the family and moved out to Western Mass, and then I eventually went to UMass Amherst because it's right over there. And then my mother, stay-at-home mom, formerly and an artist, and so it's different than, I guess, the professionals of now. It's more like you work for a company, you stay for 25 years, maybe you'll switch, maybe you won't, and then you go into the company.
So you graduated high school in Mass then?
So I finished high school in Massachusetts. So midway through junior year, we did the big move.
That's a tough time to move for a teenager.
I was not the most pleased because, I had my friends, my buddies.
Sure, man. Yeah.
And here we go. Here's a little disruption. But you know what? It worked out. People are really nice. Made some friends out here. And then once he went to UMass Amherst, that all hit the reset. But yeah, no, I wasn't the most happiest camper. But that one rocked me a little bit.
Are you were you a good kid? Were you rebel? Were you like straight A student? Were you what? Give me some. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say I was a good kid. I mean, my oldest brother kind of paved the way, and I think he gave my parents a little bit more grief at the time. So, but no,
he'll be listening to this podcast.
Know,
what's his first name?
Oh, Christian. Christian's awesome. He's always been the kind of like leader of the pack, like paving his own path, and very successful.
But Ben was a good kid. You didn't no arrest records, no jail time, nothing crazy.
No. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't fleeing the state of Wisconsin due to a criminal record. So no, good kid, average. I knew what was expected of me in high school, and that was, be active in sports, get B's. And I literally graduated with 3.0. Oh, I just like, okay, get B's, and that's what I'm gonna do.
All right.
And then in college, that's when I ramped things up. I'm like, okay, this is my job now. I gotta try even harder. But no,
Really? Okay. So grades were even better in college. Okay. No,
yeah.
no, but did you loosen up a little bit? A little partying in there? Tell me about it.
Oh, well, UMass Amherst, they call it ZooMass. So yeah, no, we had fun, and had to live up to the reputation, but it was always education first. So no matter what condition or what I was doing last night, I always made a point to go to class.
All right. Very, very good. But before
Yeah,
we go, I want to come back. Because I know you majored in marketing, so you had an early interest in marketing. Real quick though, your folks, are they still in Mass, still alive, still healthy, still married? What's the scoop there?
still alive, still healthy. They just had their, I forget what number anniversary, 50 something anniversary.
Woo!
Or,
Wow. Okay.
or no,
Okay.
yesterday. No, so they have a place down in Cape Cod. No, they're doing
Cool.
well. We
Cool.
were with them just no more than 2 weeks ago.
That's great.
But yeah, no, they're doing great. They're
You
doing
know,
great.
I I have a high deal of respect for couples that make it 50 years plus. I mean, that is something, man. I mean, that is not easy to do, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. And how about now? Family, relationships, kids, anything? What's the personal story for you?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we met at UMass Amherst. And
How'd you meet her? Give me the how'd you were you at a party? I want to know give me the scoop, man. Was she like she
I
in a
think it was
class
at
with you?
a field hockey party. It was a field hockey party my freshman or sophomore year. And yeah, we met, we were friends for a couple of years, and then, one thing turned into the next. And then before graduation, then we started dating, and then pretty much the rest is history.
Now hold
We
on. I want to dig in there for a
Oh,
minute.
come on. I thought you
This
were
is
gonna
gonna be
breeze
good.
over this
This
stuff.
is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Okay, so at first you're just kind of hanging out. You guys are she's at the party, you're at the party. You're like, hey, what's her first name?
Jordan.
Jordan?
Jordan, yep.
I like it. You're like, yeah, Jordan, there's Jordan again. Okay, but you kind of like you feel a little something like you're
Oh yeah,
attracted.
no, there's always something there,
There
of
was
course,
always something. There was
for
always
sure.
something there. Okay, okay. And then, but she had a boyfriend at the time, probably, or something.
You nailed it on the head. Yep, she had
Okay,
long
all
hair.
right. And then you
Yeah.
saw your opening. At some point, you saw an opening.
Saw the opening, and well, it was the opportunity was closing because we were about to graduate. I'm like, oh shoot,
Uh,
we're gonna graduate. She can't. Yeah. So I'm like, this is my time. If you're gonna make a move, now's the time.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
How long you been married?
Man, I'm starting to lose track now.
Jordan's gonna be
14
pissed.
years-ish. Let's call it 14. We were wed in 28 or 2008. So yeah, 13, 14-ish. Yeah, I
Wow.
think
All right. How many kids?
we have three. So we have Griffin, boy, 11, Autumn, 8, and then we just welcomed the caboose of the family,
All right.
little Bowden, or Bo, and he's gonna be 1 year in September 20th.
Woo! It's busy. It's your house, buddy. It's
Oh yeah,
busy.
it's busy. There's always action.
Okay. All right. Very good. So early interest in marketing. Were you like a creative? Like, was that always in you?
Yeah, so definitely not creative. Always a strong interest in business.
Okay.
And honestly, I think it's more just like building relationships with other folks, and just
All right.
so I knew I wanted to get into business. And then when I started taking classes, the marketing classes were the fun classes.
I see.
I'm and stats, oof, accounting, no thanks. Like, could do it, but just not for me. They're great for other people, and I'm sure other people are super into it, not me. But the marketing classes, always, those were always fun. And then so at that point, once I started taking those classes, I'm like, okay, this is fun. This is what I want to do. And thankfully
Yeah.
I have had the opportunity ever since graduating in 2004 to do that.
Were you early on? Were you a branding or strategy or design? Like, what parts of marketing were your favorite?
Yeah, it was all not so much branding. It was almost just, and this is pre-internet, of just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of like, or even early infancy internet of like almost like guerrilla marketing, how to get the name out, and what do they call it? Like the 4 Ps. I don't know,
Mm,
just like very like traditional type stuff. But then once I got into my career, then I found a path into digital, and the rest is history. I mean, once I got a taste of that, I'm like, oh, this is really
I see.
fun and
I see.
really.
I
So
see.
at school at UMass, they didn't teach any. The internet was around and kicking, but they didn't teach any digital courses. None of which
Mm, mm.
any training was directly on jobs. And then once I got a taste of that, I really
Okay.
enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah, for the listeners, by the way, Ben Lund on LinkedIn, you'll see he worked for Monster, Yahoo, Google. I mean, you worked for some big companies, bro. I mean, that's a
No,
good experience, right?
that is true. Yeah. Yeah. Early in my career, I worked at Monster, and that was nothing too glamorous. It was straight out cold
Yeah.
calling, telesales,
Hmm.
dialing for dollars, selling ad space. Great job. Wasn't a long-term career. I was there for a few years, but when you're young, you can do quite well if you're successful in any sales
Right.
organization.
Yes.
Um, but it was fun, and I knew I loved the advertising part. I loved
I
working
see.
for an internet company. I didn't like, well, frankly, calling 70 people a day. Like that. And I did it for 2.5 years, and it was fun. It was a very like young organization. We had a lot of fun, and you could do well financially. But I was like, great job, not a career. And then I
Okay.
got a solid break and being introduced to someone at Yahoo
Mm,
to work for the office right here in Boston, downtown Crossing.
I
And
see.
then that's when I got into less dialing for dollars and more actually search engine marketing for some
Okay.
great companies. And then so I learned at Yahoo, when Yahoo was still a thing,
Right.
when Yahoo was a Google, of like how to optimize search campaigns for big brands, and that was
Okay.
just a ton of fun.
Mm, all right. And then what happened? You got recruited away from Yahoo, or what happened?
Yeah, then so Yahoo, what was I? I was an account manager or account lead, whatever
Yeah.
the last title was.
Yeah.
And I was very much like optimizing search campaigns for big companies like Fidelity and
Okay.
Merrill and Bank of America, and it was great. But then a recruiter reached out and had an opportunity for an ad agency called RKG, Rim Kaufman Group, which was
Yeah.
since acquired by Merkle
I see.
for a sales role. And I'm like, you know what? I did like sales, but I didn't like the dialing for dollars. And this was a much more strategic,
Okay.
as brands were like, hey, like for example, Dick Sporting Goods, which was a client, or they're like, hey, we like your agency. We're going out for RFP. Do you want to participate? And then I would be the lead, helping to put together the strategy. At the time, flying around the country, doing like these pitches, and I'd supported staff, of course. And that was great. Just in-person sales and very much more strategic on all forms of marketing.
Now, this is right before Google. My question now is like right around here between 2011 and 2014. Are you thinking, I want to own my own agency? I want to own my own business. All this is temporary. I have a plan. Are you talking to your wife about it? What's going through your head at this time?
Great question. So earlier in my career, when I was probably right about that time, when Griffin was 11, he's 11 now. So about 11 years ago, my older brother Jamie, I was talking to him like, Jamie, and he also works in advertising. I'm like, we should just start a
Oh,
agency. I'm
huh?
like, we know how to do this. A lot of people don't. Like, I think we could do pretty well at this. And then kudos to him. He's just like, yeah, let's do it. And then we got our first client.
So okay, now let me stop you there. Now, but first you worked for Google for a while and you were talking to your brother
No,
about, hey,
no. So
oh,
this was just like a page of a story. This
I
little
see.
blip
Okay.
of, we're like,
All
hey,
right.
I think we can do this. And then he's like, I'm in. And then we got our first client. And then I got cold feet. We just
Well,
had our firstborn. relatively new to housing, so just got our mortgage, and then I just got like freaked out. I'm like, I'm like too nervous. Like the timing wasn't right for me.
Okay.
He continued on and he ran a successful organization and continued. So I bowed out, and then so I was like RKG, Ram Kaufman Group, since acquired by Merkle, and then I went to Google. I heard they were hiring and knew someone who worked there. So yeah, so then I pretty much like said, nope, not right now, and then continued on my professional career.
I see.
But in the back of my mind, the wheels are always thinking about this, but wasn't the time to activate because young kids, young family, at least for me, my comfort zone at that point wasn't ready.
Okay. And then so what? And your brother continued with his business, and then you worked for Google for 4 years, and then what happened? Is Rise your brother? Is that you and your brother, or he's got a separate thing?
Separate thing, and then so Rise is all mine. So I was at Google,
okay,
which was awesome. Loved the experience there. But you know, it was really great in all formats of Google, like the compensation, the work culture, the colleagues, which I'm still friends with several to this day. But I worked at a satellite office, which was Cambridge, and I'm always looking for, okay, what's next? Like once you master this role, and I had a really hard time finding growth in the satellite office, and there's a lot more growth if you were to work in Chicago or New York, and I wasn't going to relocate family. So as positions came about, I would apply, and it just wouldn't happen.
Meanwhile, you're seeing your brother at Thanksgiving dinner, and he's got his own business, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And you know, and I would do well at all my performance reviews. So I was, you know, a couple of years starting to get a little frustrated, not like very like agitated, but then, you know, I firmly believe if you're not growing, you're going to start to fall behind.
Okay.
And if you're doing the same role over and over again, at least in my mind, you're not really progressing. Sure, you're going to get the bonus pay and, you know, it's safe, which nothing is safe in my
Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. I always love that when candidates, you know, Riderflex, our day job is a recruiting firm, right?
Yeah.
And I always love it when candidates like, well, I'm going to take this one job with Google because, you know, it's safe. It's a regular job. I'm just like, nothing is safe. Please stop saying that. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to
no, absolutely nothing is safe. And then so then I was like, all right, I'm not getting growth in my career at Google. I'm going to start to interview outside of Google. And then I was given, where was this? This was at Criteo, which is an ad platform. They offered me a position and I almost took it, but then I was like, you know what? In the back of my mind, I'm like, if I take this job, I'm never going to jump into entrepreneurship because I'm going to stay there for a few more years. And then who knows if I have the energy to like really give it an honest effort. So then my approach was like, you know what? You always want to do this. Let's take the jump to start this, give myself some level of runway. And if I start to see success, keep it going. If I don't, I scratch the itch and then I move on. And then I'm just going to work for another company as I was planning to do anyhow. So that was the moment where I'm like, all right, no, I'm going to leave Google instead of just work for another company. Try to do what you've always wanted to do, but we're just a little afraid of. Jump into it. Worst case scenario, work for another company.
Did you get your first client signed before you gave your notice to Google?
Oh, I didn't. Nope. I was
whoa. You didn't have a client in your back pocket before you quit?
I think I had like one verbal and it was for like $750 a month. It was nothing. It was I took a leap of all. But you know, I was under the mindset.
How many kids did you have? How many kids did you have right then? Two
at the time.
So you're telling your wife, I can just hear the conversation. You're like, honey, listen, Google. I worked for the biggest company on the planet, and they're paying me really good money. I know we have 2 kids, but I'm going to quit this. And she's like, okay, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to start my own business, but I don't have any customers, but I'm going to.
More or less, she knew I've always wanted to do this, and eventually she's like, all right, you know what? Go for it. I'm like, if I don't start getting some clients in X amount of months, then we move back. Or I
Did you have some savings? Did you have a little nest egg of cash? You must have had like a little pile over here or something.
A little pile. It wasn't a massive pile. So it was, we have like retirement stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very focused, at least for me, like don't touch that.
Okay.
And then I had still not that much, maybe 3 to 6 months of,
Woo,
so
woo.
I was going pretty thin. But you know
Was
what?
was
Yeah.
your brother like, hey man, don't start your own thing, just come over here with me?
So we've had that conversation several times throughout. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to start my own. But he was
Okay.
actually extremely helpful. Jamie was, in terms of kind of coaching me early on of like, okay, what to expect.
Yeah. Right.
And
Okay.
even sending referrals of like, hey Ben, because
Oh,
they were
that
like,
helps.
talk to
That
this
helps.
talk to this person to like get some traction early on.
Very good. Very good.
And then so how I looked at this, I'm like, I got this runway, and again, it's not a big runway, like 3 to 6 months, but I was so motivated because every client I got, even if it was, let's say, $1,000 a month,
Yeah.
what that did is you start getting some revenue. So instead of 5 months of runway, 5 months, 2 weeks of runway. And then so every client I would get, like, oh, I can do this for a little bit longer. I
Yeah.
can do this for
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit
And then
longer.
pretty soon you signed enough where you're like, oh shit, I need help. And then you hired your first employee.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Very good, man. Woo, scary stuff right there, bro.
No, it's scary, but you know,
you know,
I'm sure you've done the same thing.
oh, I'll never forget the conversation with my wife when I told her I was starting Riderflex, and she's like, "Oh, well, what's that going to pay?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing the first year.
Yeah.
I think the first year of Riderflex, I think I paid myself like 20 grand or something. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the things for the listeners I just wanted to point out
Sure.
here was, for advice on aspiring entrepreneurs, what you heard Ben say right there is, look, if it doesn't work, you can just go get another job. And I've said that over and over. So many aspiring entrepreneurs, I think sometimes they think, okay, if I do this and I fail, like, oh my God, life's over. No, actually, it's not. You can just go get another job. It's going to be all right.
And I'm sure future employers will just see the entrepreneurship spirit that you
Yes,
have. And then you're like, oh, I thought you were here. Based on that experience, you're actually up here.
totally agree.
So
Yes.
yeah, definitely not for waste at all. But it
No,
could
yeah,
go
totally
somewhere.
agree. Okay. Very good. All right. So let's do how'd you pick Rise, by the way? Rise Market. How'd you pick the name?
Naming a company is very hard.
Yeah. Right.
Very
Yeah.
hard. And I wanted something that would be, something what we do for clients of like up level their business and the traffic and the leads. So something that was like uplifting. So I really liked Rise. And then I also liked, even though at the time it was just advertising, we're just doing a lot of like Google ads, social ads. We weren't doing the whole gamut of marketing, which is SEO and email and
Okay.
everything else. But
Okay.
I wanted to be under the marketing umbrella, knowing that we're going to open up other channels. And then I liked the group. It just seems bigger. It just feels bigger. And I had the vision of not just being like a
Yeah.
sole proprietor, but like, so yeah, that's just,
Yeah. Group. I
that's
like the fact the group is on there. By the way, for the list, it's Rise Marketing Group, and the website is risemkg.com, right? Rise Bar,
yep.
MKG for marketing, risemkg.com, Rise Marketing Group. Give us the elevator pitch for Rise Marketing as it stands today. Go for it.
Yeah, sounds good. So we are a performance marketing agency. And when I say a performance agency, we're not the big branding agency. It's really dollar in, dollar out of what's working and what's not working. And underpinning all that is just a ton of data and analytics. Because at the end of the day, our clients are looking for growth. And if you're doing a bunch of campaigns that are working, they're going to keep you hiring and have you do more and more work. So very much a performance-oriented agency to hit or exceed client goals. Another wrinkle to us is we're not a big organization. It's me plus 10 other people, 7 full-time, 3 part-time.
Okay.
But as a boutique agency, we are very much we customize to the client needs. We're not a big agency where we're just like throw them into the process and it'll work 70% of the time, but the other 30 doesn't. They don't care. They're just still growing. So we very much customize to the needs of the client. So yeah, that's who we
Okay.
are.
Okay. Are you targeting small to mid? Do you do anything and do you target geographically? Talk to me about that as far as your clients.
Yeah, so we work with a variety of clients. I think we're working with maybe like 45-ish or so clients right now.
Good. Good for you.
We start off without a specific niche, and we are still open to pretty much like all engagements. But what's starting to happen is we're getting these pockets that are building up. So
Mm.
small businesses is a pocket, e-commerce is a pocket,
Okay.
education is a pocket, and pretty much any like lead gen type company, whether B2C or B2B, is a pocket. So
Okay.
they're starting to come to these areas. We're not the agency. Some agencies have complete focus. They're like, we just work with dentists. We're not that, but we are building out these sub verticals
Okay.
that we have a lot of experience and success with.
I recommend for the listeners, everybody says you have to have a niche and all this, and you got to specialize. When you're a service business and you're just starting out, I don't necessarily agree. I like the generalist approach, especially if you're starting out and you freaking need cash, you need clients. Like if somebody calls you, and they're like, I want to pay you for your service, and you're just starting out, you're not going to say, no, I only do, dentists or whatever. You're going to say yes.
No, especially early days, never said no to that.
Yes.
Okay, got it. I'll make it happen.
I totally agree. I get that. Sometimes I get that pushback from some of the advisors and equity holders here at recruiting firm Riderflex, and they'll be like, oh, you guys really need to specialize. And I'm like, hey, look, here's the deal. When the phone rings, if they need recruiting, yes.
Yeah. If they need recruiting and you can do a great job.
Yeah.
Don't hold back like, no, I just want to focus on this segment. Like,
no, I'm not doing that. Very good. Okay. I'd also like what you said about the smaller team that is flexible and can customize and pivot and adapt. I like that. And we're the same, right? I always approach when I first started Riderflex, I had me and Scott, we kind of had this thing over there. Like, okay, this is how we're going to do the recruiting. And this is going to be the exact process that we're going to put the clients through and the candidates. And then we had this thing. And then we started getting clients and they're like, no. I want this. I want this. I want this. I want that. I want this. We quickly realized like, okay, actually what we're going to do is we're going to customize to what the client wants.
Yep, absolutely. So and I've seen big shops where it's so overly processed.
Yes.
And it just doesn't work.
No.
It works some, but not all.
No. Okay, so right now 10 people active. Are you 100% owner? Have you taken on any cash?
So thankfully all bootstrap, no cash, no investors.
Wow. Ben Lund is 100% owner on the cap table?
That's correct. That is correct.
That's nice.
Like I don't know, maybe we could bring in I will like to open it up to some type of ownership opportunities for senior employees, just to give them some upside as well. But also not against further ideas. Like if one day, would it be helpful to infuse more cash to help growth?
Maybe.
Makes sense. I don't know. And right now we're not at that level, but I am very grateful that because it's just kind of our own money, we don't really report to anyone else, which
isn't that nice. The only person you report to is Jordan.
Yeah, that's right. How are we doing, Ben?
Guys in your spot, right? What do you can you tell me how big you probably don't want to share revenue, do you? Do you want to tell us how big you are?
Last year we were just shy of $1 million.
Okay, great.
Now we're probably on track for 1.3, 1.4-ish.
Okay, cool. Very good. Very good. Right at your spot, right? I always hear people say, I've had so many people on the podcast that have taken on cash. And I get one of two responses, and they are on the complete opposite end.
Yeah.
They say it's the worst thing I ever did, and I made a deal with the devil. Or they say it's freaking great. There's no in the middle.
I know. Yeah. So in time, I'll give that some more thought. But
and how about partnering with your brother?
Yeah, and so that'd be just more kind of like loose partnerships. But actually, he's since moved on from his agency, so he ran
Oh,
it for
oh,
10 plus years. Awesome career at it, built out a team, and then eventually kind of stepped aside.
somebody
Because I
still,
think
somebody else is still running it?
so
Or
someone was running it for a bit, and then I think it just kind of fizzled out once he left.
oh,
But then
okay.
he went on to do, I think what was happening is his heart just wasn't there anymore into like agency life. And he was getting pulled into some other really cool projects, and kind of
Oh,
like bigger things that just really piqued his interest. Like kind of like he's just getting pulled in different directions. And he's like, you know what? This was a lot of fun and he did well at it, or very well. But then he's like, I'm going to move on. But we still, I mean, he's still in all things like marketing, and we consult a lot or just chat. So yeah.
okay. 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 I've interviewed a shit ton of marketing executives. A lot of them have been on the podcast that have small agencies, a ton of them. What is the number one thing that makes Rise special? Like out of all the guys I've had on the podcast, I don't even know how many marketing agencies we've had.
Mhm.
They all say the same thing. Well, they don't all say the exact same thing,
I
but a
know.
lot.
And I'm probably going to say the same thing as they say.
Yeah. What is the key reason I'm calling Rise? Why Rise?
Yeah, so what makes Rise special? I'll definitely always put team first and foremost, because without the team, we have nothing. And we have a pretty awesome group of folks. But why Rise? I mean, I think it all comes down to data driven performance. Like, we're not going
Okay.
to do something because you want us to do. I mean, yeah, we will, but then we're going to be very honest and transparent of,
Yes. Yes.
like, there's nothing wrong if you launch a campaign with all best intentions, whether it was our idea or client idea. We're like, oof, this isn't going so well. But through all of our clients, we have a dashboard. We look at this either on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on size of client
Yeah.
and size of program. We look at this. The data's not going to tell us, like, the data's not going to lie. And a campaign that doesn't perform doesn't mean it's a failure. It's a really good knowledge point of like, okay, that didn't work. We have to pivot from that. And just by having that open transparency and dialogue makes the world of difference. And then, because it could be a variety of things. It could be, is it the targeting? Is it the messaging? Is it landing page? Are we just going off the wrong audience? And then we review that with the partner, the client partner, of like, all right, let's figure this out. Where do you think we're off here? And then we pivot. And then obviously the campaigns that are doing awesome, data is going to show that. Let's push gas. And if campaigns are somewhere in the middle, all right, how can we tweak this to get that? Or what is it about those good campaigns that are working? So it's a very transparent
Good.
relationship that we
Good.
have.
Good. 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 Do you specialize in the paid campaigns, or in SEO as like a side deal, or what?
Yeah, so we start off on all paid, and then we brought in SEO about 3+ years ago. And we do all things SEO, including all content creation. All that is written. All the keyword research is done in-house, written in-house by full-time
Okay. Okay.
employees.
On the
Link
on the on the paid side, are LinkedIn, Facebook, all of it, Google AdWords,
all
everything. No, whatever you want to
yeah,
do.
Google, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Meta, which I'm still getting used to saying Meta for
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
TikTok to some degree, just kind of dabbling, trying it.
Okay.
Yeah, we are very much platform agnostic. We're
Okay.
not like, oh, we're just the Google agency. We're not the Facebook. It's like, well, Google's great, but sometimes it's not the answer for you. Maybe you should be over here.
Yeah, good. For a small business like ours, we use my own company for an
Yep.
example. Um, and I have seen people go broke with Google AdWords, right? I mean, the budget can just boom, just like that. You spent $5,000 or whatever. Do you have is it set up, is the model set up to where when you're talking to an owner like me and I say, look, Ben, I want to spend $5,000 a month, and then here's $5,000. Just
Yep.
do what you need to, take your cut out of it.
Yep.
how does that work? Is that how it works?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have a monthly retainer, flat fee.
Okay.
And then the rest will go to, in this case, Google. And we are very, what I'm very vocal and transparent about is you will give Google your credit card. We don't want to touch your money because there are a lot of agencies from yesteryear
I
which would
see.
say, okay, we're going to add a cut on top of it. So it's like, and then they kind of will polish up their reports of like, yeah, we're going to add 15% on what they're paid. So it's like, it's your Google account. You will always have ownership of it. You're going to pay Google directly. We're not getting in the middle of it and kind of mucking up like any of that. You're going to pay us our fee for our services. And by having you always maintain ownership, that gives you flexibility and also confidence. So it's like, well, if it ever didn't work, I can take this in-house or it can go elsewhere or something like that. Whereas, and we run into this all the time, agencies almost hold their clients hostage. We're like, okay, well, this was our ad account that we built for you. If you want to leave, you're going to have to start from scratch. And it's really is holding them hostage. Now, the best agencies that I speak with, they don't do that. But there are agencies out there, and maybe they have reasons that make sense that I'm just not privy to, that they will do that. So we don't, you're hiring us to do a service, a professional service to optimize and manage Google Ads, in this case, as best as we can to drive performance. And that's all you're paying us.
Okay. And do I have to pay for the initial discovery call where I'm like, hey, Ben, I think I want to do these keywords. And then your team's looking at it and they go, actually, no, you probably should do these keywords.
Yeah.
Like, is there a fee for this discovery recommendation call?
No fee at all, free consultation.
Okay.
And even also, when a client does partner with us, we have that monthly flat fee, and that's scoped out based off of how big the program is and how many channels and things like that. But there's not a big like setup fee of like, okay, month one. And no doubt, like that first month, there is a lot more work that goes into it. But you know,
then after that, aren't you just turning the dial on words up,
then
down?
you're optimizing and tweaking. So it's like it all comes out in the wash. And it's also a level of trust. Like when a client comes on to us, they might think, oh, it's a risk. It's also a risk for a rise because we're putting a lot of upfront effort into this, and our mutual goal is to see this successful. Because if we can't run a successful business by just having 1 month engagements.
Can I turn it? Is it? But okay. So you're recommending obviously it goes further than that. But my question is, do I have to sign a long-term contract or is it month to month?
Yeah, month to month. I mean, we even have. I say this, it's more for marketing, but like 0-day out clause, and it's actually in every
0-day out clause.
Yeah, okay. And I just say that because when I was at agency, Rim Kaufman Group, what the terms is like 180-day out clause with a 60-day notice. So it's like, even if you wanted to leave, you were bound to them for 8 months. And I was just like, I never want to have a contract force a relationship. If
Agreed.
it's working,
Agreed.
If it's not working, you shake hands. And thankfully, I haven't been burned to date. Maybe one ended a little bit too premature. I was like, oof, but whatever. It's a way
great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice. I strongly encourage that for the listeners as well. If you own a service business, you know, you can put whatever you want to in the contract. The bottom line is, if you own a service business and somebody doesn't want your service anymore, you're not going to force them to use your service.
That's true. Yeah. Yep. Very much.
Why would you do that? Yeah. Why would you do that? That's not going to, yeah. So I love that when people, I had a guy tell me one time, he's like, I don't care what's in this service level agreement. If I don't want to use you anymore and I'm not going to pay you, then I'm not going to pay you.
That's true. Yeah, that's it. I know.
Okay, I like that 0-day out clause. Okay, very good, man. I appreciate the overview of the business for sure. Thank you. So, what's the goal then, Ben? Are you running this as a lifestyle business for the for your family for now? And it's like, hey, you're having fun building it. Do you have a master plan to sell it or merge? Tell me where you're at.
So great question. I don't know the answer to, and shame on me as the business owner for not having like this fully written out plan. Where it's going right now is like still having a ton of fun with this.
Okay.
Because the enjoyment is there and we're doing all right. I
Good.
just want to keep this thing going. But what's very interesting, and I mentioned this actually on the other podcast I was on recently, we have a team of employees, not a massive team, but a team. And we just went through our review cycle this past summer. A lot of people got raises, things like that. And, it's less of this is the Ben organization. We need to make Ben happy. It's turned into something bigger than that. So it's like, if I want to keep the employees engaged, happy, well compensated, career opportunities, there's really no choice but to grow. Because if we just stay at this, like, this is my little like bonsai tree, I just curate it perfectly, I'm gonna go jet set the world. Not that I have the funds to jet set the world, but in that example, the team would work here and be like, okay, Rise is fun and cool, I get it, but I can't really grow, so I'm just gonna work here for 1 year or 2 years and then move off.
Right.
And really, so the focus is less on Ben these days and now more of the team. Like, I want the team to grow as they want to, and we have the career conversations with everybody,
Good.
we need to grow. So I think that mindset is fueling future growth. Now, to answer your question of, are we going to merge? Are we going to get bought out? Right now, I don't have any plans on any of that, or frankly, interest. I like being independently owned and operated, but I can't predict future.
Okay. Yeah, you do a nice job, by the way, of highlighting your people on the website, and it's got a good feel that you
Awesome.
care about that you care about your employees. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, no, team's awesome. The retention is really high, and we really focus. I try to always weed out any clients that just wouldn't be a good fit, that would just burn out the team.
Awesome.
So try our best. Occasionally you get one that snuck by, like, how did this happen? But team first, always. I'm never going to prioritize a client over a team member for short-term gain, because you're going to lose.
Great advice. Let's pause right there before I ask you the last question. If you are an early stage entrepreneur, especially with a service business of some kind, some sort of agency or whatever, life is too short to work with asshole clients, especially if they are mistreating your employees.
Yes.
I will not stand for that at Riderflex. If I find out now, okay, early on when we were starving and I only had like 2 clients, did me and Scott, did we put up with a few assholes?
You're
like
taking
early
the
on?
punches, I'm sure.
Yeah. But those days are over. I don't, if I find out a client is just, beating up one of my recruiters for absolutely no reason and just being an asshole, I'll just call them and be like, hey man, find somebody else. Have a nice life. Good to meet you. Like, I'm not doing that. And it makes the team will appreciate you more. It's not worth it. And then you can channel those energies on a better client. I recommend firing asshole clients as quickly as possible. Yes.
Yes. Yep. And unfortunately, we had to do that before. Very rare that does happen, but you got to put your team first. Otherwise, you're going to be losing your team over your clients. And actually, that a-hole client is probably going to leave anyhow. So
true. Exactly. Bingo. They're going to leave anyhow, or they're going to stiff you on some invoices and not pay them. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
So, very good, my friend. Okay. Last question. If you had to, because we didn't talk a lot about hobbies and your thoughts and things like that, but what is Ben's core purpose in life?
Oof.
beyond your children? Let's set your wife and children aside. Okay. So let's set them aside. What is like your core purpose? You ever have those moments where you're like, okay, now what am I doing on this planet? What's my big reason to be here? What is Ben's overall core purpose, if you had to put it into a sentence?
Yeah. Wow. That's a very tough question. And I'm probably going to write this down so I can do some soul searching.
Yes.
At some point, or next time going out for a long run or meditation or whatever. That's really interesting. I feel like there's the Ben's core purpose for different functions in his life. As you mentioned, you told me like remove family, but like, for the family, be positive influence and be there for both wife and children, and then also for work wise, I do believe like the Rise team, myself included, like we have a special talent and skill set, and we can use that to help grow businesses. And we hear from clients where they tell us success stories of like, wow, thanks to you guys, we're growing like crazy. And I see them hiring. So I feel like that's our purpose in the Rise lens of like, we have this ability, let's use it. And we don't bring on like, not only just bad clients, but just bad businesses. If it's a scheme or something that's like, I don't want to contribute towards that. I want legit businesses.
Yes.
But to answer your question, which I know I'm like dodging around because I'm thinking through this of like,
It's a tough one. I couldn't answer it first time somebody asked me.
the core of Ben, I need to think about that. I think there was probably some
Very good.
overlapping traits. That's actually
one of the best answers I've gotten in a long time. I actually don't like it when people try to force an answer. So I appreciate you saying you need to think about it. By the way, I did the same thing. So I was challenged with that from one of my advisory board members. I was having wine with a glass of wine on his back porch, and he's like, what is your real core purpose? And I did one of those, well, I want to make the world a better place or whatever, right? Like the cheesy, quick answer that most everybody would give. And he was like, no. He's like, no, you're not gonna. Like, no. He's like, no, you're not going to get out that easy. Yes, make the world a better place. Take care of your family. Okay. Those are easy answers. Like really think about it. Anyway, I came home that night, and my wife was in the kitchen, and she's like, what's wrong with you? You seem irritable. And I was like, yeah, I'm irritable. I'm 50 years old. I don't know what my core purpose is. So yeah, it's a good one to really think about, man.
That's a really good question. After this, I'm going to write this down and think about that, because I feel like, well, I'm sure he asked you for a reason to help shape your probably focus, right? Or something.
Yeah, I finally came up with a solid answer to it, and I did exactly what you're saying. I thought about it for weeks. I really feel like at this stage, and by the way, I think your core purpose changes as your life moves along, depending on what situation you're in or how old you are. Right now, going forward, I think my core purpose is to help people find professional happiness.
Yep.
And that ties back to, our recruiting firm and the candidates we deal with. And so overall, I'm just trying to help people find professional happiness. But I had to really think about that, bro. It took me a while. Anyway, Ben, congratulations, man, on the business. Again, for the listeners, Rise Marketing Group, it's risemkg.com. Check out Ben and his team if you need some support on marketing. Congrats on everything you're doing. Appreciate you sharing your story on the Riderflex podcast, my friend.
Yeah, hey, I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you. And really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.